Same with their, their raised deck thing.
Hello. There we go. So I want to thank both Tom and Stephen for sharing their research information with me. This was quite a big help. So without any further ado, maybe. And Tom. All right, so a map of where Steamboat Springs is, for anybody who doesn't know, was stopped here between Browns and Pleasant Valley. Right here is what we're looking at, just off of Old 395 here, just south of the Mount Rose Junction there. So it was first located in 1860 by Felix Monet. Once had the third largest geyser in the U.S., between 60 and 80 feet, depending on what was going on at the time. Had intermittent geyser activity through the years, depending on, if there were earthquakes, there were more, and if there were droughts, there were less. Up until about 1988, when they put a geothermal plant in, and then everything stopped. There have been a number of hotels and spas built in the areas. They burned down, they built another one, it burned down, they built another one. Kept doing that. V&T reached the area in 1871 when they were building from Reno to Carson. Stopped there over the winter, and for about a year it was really busy. Tracks went all the way through to Carson in 1872, and pretty much everything died off at that point. Tracks were there until the road was abandoned in 1950. So just a quick overview there. 1871, the tracks coming in here, not ballasted yet. They got the bridge in and about 30 feet of track on the other side, but that was about it. It was a pretty good size freight depot here, and all sorts of other activity. The V&T would run the trains through here, stop, offload onto wagons, take the road down here, and then up Geiger Grade. We're looking more or less westerly here. Reno's off this direction, and then they build off towards Carson here. It's 1872, tracks are all the way through. Put in a small engine house, most likely a turntable. Tracks are ballasted now. And that big freight depot here is moved to Carson City and becomes the Carson City Freight Depot. And the transshipment here off to Geiger Grade pretty much dies off. It's cheaper just to run it through, keep it on the train all the way up. 1874, we get a hotel in the Steamboats here. At least I'm assuming that's the ones that were built in 1874. They show up in some pictures around this time. There's also good sized livery stables here. Some buildings here that look like they could have been a passenger depot, another smaller warehouse with B&T. 1876, they put in a passing siding here. At some point in time, they put in a little spur off here too. 1880, they add something called the South Hay siding. No idea where that is, but I stuck that off here because there's actually some fields over here, and that might make sense to put it there. But it's just a guess. Also, the Steamboat ditch coming in from the Truckee River up near the state line comes in. They finished building it here in 1880, comes across here, drops into the Steamboat Creek right there. I can see the little geyser there. 1881, the V&T warehouse is gone. At least it's off the tax rolls. Maybe they sold it, maybe it's gone. 1888, the engine house falls down or is removed. It's off the rolls as well. 1891, they take out the turntable. They look at making a Y in here, but the ground's too rough. So they put another turntable in instead. And this time the switch is going off towards the south. So maybe that was the other leg of the Y that they were planning on building. Maybe not. 1900, there's an earthquake. Kills this geyser here. There's still a fair amount of activity up here, but this was the big one, and it's gone now. 1901, shortly after, everything burns down. At least on the west side of the tracks there. This building here, I think, survives. It shows up in some later photographs, but most everything else is gone. 1904, they get rid of the A-frame turntable, put in a second-hand iron turntable here, which is just a little bit too short for the Keen car when it comes in another couple of years. 1907, put in a little wood platform here, and a stock chute. I'm assuming the stock chute went in here off the A siding, because again, that's where the fields are. But again, just a guess. 1916, this is how it looks on the valuation surveys. The hay siding, the stock chute are gone by now. So is the little spur off here. Really starting to decline, not much left anymore. 1921, the concrete highway goes in. By 1921, I think it goes all the way out to Washoe Hill. I don't think it makes it all the way to Carson yet. But it makes it at least to here. And sometime around here, we get the new building at Steamboat, which I believe is still the same building that's there now, although a couple of facelifts. I think we still have this building here. I'm guessing that was the, for the track gang, back when they were there, the section crew. They were there intermittently up until, I think, the mid-1880s when they moved to Washoe. But the building's still there. 1930, they widened the highway. I guess 15 feet wasn't wide enough for 2 lanes of traffic. So they put in an asphalt highway here. It's now full 20 feet wide. And this one pretty much follows the alignment that old 395 follows now. The old concrete one kind of wanders around a bit, especially around Washoe Hill. You can kind of see it curve in and out on either side of the highway. What's left of it there. 1941, the turntable's gone. Sell it off for scrap, gets turned into a bridge. I think it's still there. And in 1950, it's gone. The last run is end of May 30th. They pull up the tracks. The bridge is still here, although it's behind the trees, you can't really see it anymore. And that's it. So, next couple slides, I have some of the images that I used to create these. This is a wood carving out of the history of Nevada, published in 1881. So this picture is before that. Here's a photograph of the same area, roughly the same buildings here. 70s, early 80s. I think this is the little freight warehouse there that was either sold or gone by 81. Here's a geographical map, a topog map from 1885. And here you can see the engine house and the spur going off the other direction, the opposite of where it is on the valuation survey, as well as outlines of all the buildings here. The, library stable here, and the hotel and the spa there. the various railroad buildings there. Section house, the old hotel. Presumably after the fire in 1901, doesn't look like there's much out here anymore. But it's before that new big building goes in. 1918, maybe 1920, somewhere in there. And you can see the section house is still there, the outhouse. This is an interesting one here. So this is looking east, opposite direction. Here's the tracks right here. So in 1942, the hotel burns down again. And this time, I think the hotels were over here on the other side of the river. There was a fair amount of trees here. I have a picture of the 37 hotel after it burned down and surrounded by trees, and there aren't any trees over on this side, so it's gotta be over here. Interesting note there, the fire truck on its way back to Reno, one of the wheels falls through the bridge and they're stuck there for a couple hours checking back out. So anyway, in 42, the hotel burns again, and they contract an architect to draw up a new plan, and he comes up with this nice, big, fancy, elaborate center out here on the east side, dam up the creek, put in the lake. Never happens. The lady in charge of this dies in a couple years after this. They just end up with the other building that's down there now. Here's a shot of the last day. You can see the newer building here. The farewell party thrown by the local school kids. And the last train through. Here's one of the other geysers, one of the smaller ones in '84. This would have been on the east side of the highway. This is the bridge here, the former turntable from Steamboat. Still out crossing the Carson River if you want to go out and take a look at it. And I think that's it. Any questions?
How did it get its name, Steamboat?
According to the stories, all of the geyser activity sounded like steamboats puffing along a river. It makes a good story, you know. As all origin stories, you know.
They know what caused the fire.
Which one?
Took out everything.
No. Insurance.
Where is that bridge? That's not on the Carson River.
Yes, that's on the Carson River.
Where?
Is that in Brunswick Canyon?
Brunswick.
Oh, down in Carson River Canyon. Actually, that's not Brunswick.
Yeah, well,
That's
I don't
that's
know.
actually the Carson River Canyon where Brunswick Creek comes in. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Deer Run Road, that's
Right,
different.
right.
Yeah, that's
Take Deer
different.
Run Road.
Yeah.
and follow the road up the canyon.
Oh, yeah.
It's not very far.
Yeah.
Curtis, the water there was really, really hot. There's a newspaper article, one of the early owners in the 1870s fell in one of the hot water things and he was scalded to death.
Yeah, there's some stories around there. There was some ownership questions
Yeah.
at the beginning. One guy staked a claim, somebody else jumped in, built some buildings. There were some lawsuits. I think in '74, I think they settled everything out. The V&T had to make a payment to rebuy the land from the right person this time. And yes, one of the people there fell into the springs and died. Was involved in that.
Curtis, you said that once they got the tracks through the Carson, the railroad traffic, well, the railroad activity, was it still fairly popular as a tourist attraction in the early 19-something?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. I think it was at least popular locally, more or less continually. There's always been something there.
There were picnic trains from Virginia down to Steamboat.
At various times, there's a lot of trains on the line, they just don't stop there. in
Well, yeah.
Steamboat.
Wasn't that one of the destinations where you go to wait for your Nevada divorce to come?
Yeah, like any of the other hotels in the area.
Curtis? What was the date that the building was moved from Steamboat Springs to become the freight depot here in Carson?
Was October of 1872. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong.
I have a reason for asking. Because original curator of the Nevada State Railroad Museum, Dick Dayton, turned up something about my great-grandfather and his older brother having built that freight depot. But he couldn't find any trace of them working for the railroad. Well, they weren't. They were carpenters, they were contractors, they also were in the innkeeping business, but they also worked on the Bowers Mansion. I have a written confirmation of that at home, that was the first place that they earned big money after they got here to Nevada. To me, maybe they're the ones that also built the building in Steamboat Springs that later became the freight depot, which is maybe where Dick Dayton came up with that. Either
Mark?
that, or in 1872, they were still around very much in the innkeeping business.
Mark, I have an article somewhere in my collection stating that the Corbett, I think it was the Corbett brothers,
Yes,
dismantled the freight station and it was brought to Carson. I don't
maybe
know
that's
if
what,
it
that's,
goes back
what-
together.
maybe that's what Dick meant.
Yeah, they were in the newspaper as getting the job to dismantle it. I don't know if they put it back together.
Dick found this way back in the 80s for me, so I only know a little bit. I'd like to see that article. Thank you.
At
If I
some
can
point
find
in
this again,
time,
I'll give it to you. I'm sorry.
at some point in time, it was enlarged. I think it was 150 feet in Steamboat and 180 later on in Carson. So there's an extra 30 feet that got in there sometime.
So maybe they got
I don't know
involved with
whether
that too.
was
Have to
when they
see.
rebuilt it, when they moved it, or if that happened sometime during the later history.
I remember the depot, no detail.
Two things, Mike said not to go into Washoe Canyon, one, the headwaters for the Steamboat Creek or the Steamboat Hot Spring Creek?
Steamboat Creek.
Okay, and it runs through, just trying to remember, is it Washoe Canyon, is it Allen Canyon, or is it Hagley Canyon?
I've heard all
Wow,
three.
it's really old.
Heard all three.
Okay, so it's just up to you.
Somehow, we ought to remember that Steamboat Springs has a place in Knoxville District. Do you know about that?
Yes.
That's where, Bass boxer by the name of Trina Luskett, who I trained in 1931, we fought Max Bader in Reno, and, 2 years later, Max Bader became heavyweight champion. Like that. But, it seems to me that there were also some other boxers trained at Steamboat. if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, there was somebody earlier. I'm blanking on the name, but, I think they lengthened that long siding there. Added a couple hundred feet maybe to the siding for the extra trains.
The passenger there,
Yeah.
was it in existence until abandonment?
Yes.
And was it used on a regular basis, or was it just?
That I can't say.
They would run the helper engine down from Carson, down to Steamboat, and then double ahead back up over the hill.
Right.
Yeah, so it was probably there.
And I think that's what they kept the turntable for.
Right.
Yeah.
To turn that engine around.
Yes.
I don't know how they
Usually
usually
run it back,
use
run
this
it back to
thing.
Carson.
Yeah.
As late as 1990s, you could still see the ties